o'clock. Thank you. Just to remind members that this meeting has been recorded for the public on the Thatcham Town Council YouTube channel. First of all, apologies for absence.
Apologies received from councillors Mike Cole, Owen Jeffrey and Simon Pike, and councillor Petra Pemberton appointed as substitute for councillor Cole.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? Thank you. And to take and read and confirm as accuracy of the minutes, item number 3. Is there any points to be raised by that? Oh, so I sign them?
So proposed.
Oh, my apologies. Seconded, thank you. Agreed. All those in favour? Sorry. I'll get the other bits in a minute.
Sure.
Yeah. Any matters arising from the previous meeting?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Members have no other matters arising that we're aware of, then thank you very much. Moving swiftly on to item number 5. Would you like to?
So this is the income and expenditure for the cost centres that sit within the recreation and amenities budget. And you can see on the second from end column, that's the overall percentage of the budget spend for the year. I've also included some notes about the variations. So the report covers months 1 and 2, and the average for that would be 16.6% of the total budget. So anything that is quite different to that, I've provided an explanation and can run through those if required. Usually what we would do is I can just scroll through this report, and if there's anything that jumps out, any questions or queries about anything, we're then happy to answer them.
Okay, should we just take them on page 1 and then flip over that way? That's okay with members. Does anyone have any questions on page 1 of that report?
Quite far on, obviously plants, shrubs and trees, and I presume that's near spent, I'm guessing. Just £100.
That's it, and that will be the only cost for the whole year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I believe at the tail end of item 5, those items 6, there's an explanation for each of. If members want to have a look with that, it's not a problem. So page 2, any questions and queries on page 2? Okay, that's not a problem. Page 3 of the report. Members have any concerns? Okay. Now we'll get to the interesting parts. Page 4. Do members have any questions? Because I have 2 quick ones. Okay. You have line 4011, 9,300. Then your ground maintenance contract, and then you've got salaries, costs as the very bottom line is 506, 5006. Would you be kind enough to just explain that just for members who are new, what those things are, please?
So which one to start with, Chairman?
So you've got the Thatcham Cemetery,
Yeah.
which is £9,330.
on rates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the 1,500% rate rise increase that you were indicating previously?
That's correct.
Yeah.
We are liable for business rates on the cemetery.
Yeah. Okay.
Although, so Chairman, if I may, the 9330 was what we budgeted based on last year's rates, but the bill has come in at 5489. So it's under this year's budget, which.
So just for clarification then, can you, normally they'll set their business rates similar same time as they're setting the council tax. So are you not getting, or is the council not getting any notification of what that's likely to be? Because it's gone up 1,500% and it's gone down by 50%. Are you just?
We get no prior notification until the bill comes through.
Okay. It wouldn't be inappropriate, wouldn't be unreasonable to turn around and ask for some sort of explanation why there's such a large variance. If it was any other business, you would be at least finding out why there's such a large variance. So I think it would help members, because what if it quadruples next year? We don't know where we are. And that was that point. Did you clarify on 4038? That's the maintenance contract. Is we pay a contractor to maintain cut grasses, not that kind of stuff?
We do. They cover all of our public spaces. So it's grass cutting, litter picking, hedge trimming, path weeding, all sorts of things.
And that's the proportion of that work, that contract is then allocated to that.
To each
heading.
site. Yes.
Individually, so we can, okay.
That's right.
And then the final one is 5006, the £33,000. Would you elaborate on that, please?
So the salaries are split out across each cost centre. So every year officers do an estimate of the amount of time we spend on each cost centre in our work. It's not anything scientific, it is a best guess. And then the total salaries for the year is proportioned out across the sites so that it gives a more accurate reflection of what that service costs to provide.
Would it be right for members to understand from that that's all okay, in my mind, would turn and say that's a full-time job equivalent? Or is this 3 people looking over 3 part-time roles or 2 part-time roles, if you see what I mean? Sorry.
That was going to be my question. Like, do you employ people for specific areas, or does everybody do a bit of everything?
Everybody has an area that they are responsible for, but everybody else can cover for them in their absence. So for the cemetery, we have two members of staff working on the admin side, both part-time, and also the facilities manager. It's a small proportion of his role to oversee, and also a little bit of mine as well.
Okay, no, at least explains the lumps of that one. The members have any other questions on that one?
No. Hey, on it. Still going, are you?
Yeah. Page 5. Fortunately, I've got a few. Again, this is as much about becoming familiar with
Absolutely.
the role and the functions that we perform. 4012, 6,370. Is that normal? What you would be normally looking to pay for your water, for your allotments? Is that, because I haven't really got to look at previous years. Is that within normal range, especially with a couple of long hot summers? And that could go consumed very quickly.
Yes, it is a little bit dependent on the weather, but again, it's a best guess on average.
I did actually take a walk over there, and most of the ones that I could see had rainwater attachments, sort of grey water stuff as well. So clearly they're trying to do their bit for not just growing plants.
Yes.
Okay. Now the next one drops down to the play areas. At the £20,000 maintenance, planned maintenance, we can come to that at a point. Could you highlight the next three lines on 18,000 reactive maintenance inspection contract and salaries? Because these are quite large numbers for. Thank you.
So the salaries, again, it's exactly the same as the cemetery. It's just the proportion of officers' time spent on that service. Reactive maintenance is things that we don't know about when we're setting the budget in advance. And we have 12 play areas that we need to maintain. So if you divide 18,000 by 12, it's a relatively small-ish budget for each one. And this is things like if things where bolts need replacing, bearings, handles, all those wear and tear items that happen over the course of the year. This is the budget that funds their repair and replacement.
And do we spend that most years?
Oh, yes.
So,
Could I just ask about the vandalism? I notice that comes up in people.
Yes. Sadly, play areas is our largest vandalism expense. When we can, we will claim via insurance. It isn't always worth it when you take the excess into account. But yeah, it's quite a large cost.
Park bench over in Skateboard Park. Is that the one that recently was caught fire?
Yes, yes. So that would be an insurance claim.
okay. And the inspection contract seems a lot of money to inspect 12 parks.
It's a weekly inspection. This is our health and safety inspection. So it's a weekly inspection, let me get this the right way around, a weekly visual inspection, a monthly operational inspection, and an annual roster inspection.
Okay, would you be kind enough to explain for us new members?
So the visual inspection is, it has to be carried out by a qualified person, and they will go to the play park, have a look around, looking for things obvious, such as chain has broken, that seat's hanging off, that sort of thing. The monthly operational is looking at in more detail, checking the swing on things, checking that all the nitty-gritty operational elements of the equipment are working
And safe.
they should and safe. And the annual one is, it's just an overview of all of the play areas carried out independent of the people who are doing the monthly and weekly ones.
It's roughly £100 a month per park, roughly. Which, to be fair, from a parent point of view, actually, I'd want to make sure that what was one Turnfields, the wooden steps to go up, you pull up the rope. I know that that's been fixed over the time, and actually, if that's a visual or the second inspection you said, or even the ROSPA, I'd rather that be done and then be missed out 1 month because someone hasn't, and then it's faulty and it slips. So actually, £100 a month in theory, well, 1,222 a year per park doesn't seem a lot.
No, absolutely.
So yeah.
If something's picked up on a visual inspection, how long do we have to get that repaired? Is there a certain amount of time it has to be fixed?
Not really, but obviously the sooner you address things, the better when they've been highlighted. If it's something that is an immediate safety concern, the operator who's doing the inspection will deal with it there and then. They'll take that piece of equipment out of action. If it's just to bring something to our attention, they'll phone it through to us and say, notice this, need some attention at some point soon. So then our facilities manager will then get quotes and that sort of thing and schedule it in. So we respond depending on the severity of the issue.
Okay. And again, just so we can familiarise ourselves, Who checks the checkers?
You could say that's the annual roster.
Is it
but
the same
we'll
company
say-
or is it?
No, they're independent.
Safe play, isn't it? .co.uk, yeah.
Excuse me. And we've got 2 members of staff who are out about as well, so they are keeping an overview of things as well.
Okay, so if we were to ask for a list of those reports, assuming they're doing a monthly report, because that would be not unreasonable if they've been
It's
inspecting.
all reported, so we get a report every week.
Okay, so would you be able to bring to the committee a summary of where you think that what work needs to be done with the parks? Because if this is rolling, you know that a park bench has been rotten or broken for 6 months and it hasn't been fixed, I would assume. But not just within the play equipment, is actually so slightly broader, for example. So Park Lane, you've got a play area down there where I believe Jeff,
That road?
where that issue we were talking about, whether to get a contractor in to do the dirt.
Oh, Pound Lane.
Pound Lane, sorry,
Pound
yeah,
Lane.
sorry,
Right.
I'm so new to it, sorry. For example, if there was broken seats there, but they're not actually in the play area, would that be part of their, or would that, like they just purely do?
So benches are part of the grounds maintenance contract.
Yep, that's okay. So this is
Unless
purely
they're-
within the boundary. That's okay, that's absolutely perfect. Okay, thank you, members. Moving on to page 6. Yes, Ben?
4038, grounds maintenance contract.
Hmm.
So just wondering, speaking to people and seeing what's around in one of the estates. The grounds, is that including things such as the grass and the open spaces in an estate? Who would be cutting that? Is that West Berkshire?
No, this is only our land.
Okay, fine.
Mainly the play areas and or the open space around them.
Fine, so the field adjoining turn fields, for example.
So that's ours.
Yeah.
Yes, so it would include that.
Okay.
And the Pound Lane one, that would be-
Pound Lane.
Right,
Yeah.
sure. Within
Things
that,
like highway verges and other little pockets of land around the town, that would be classed as highway land, and that's West Berkshire Council.
okay.
Just to clarify, this would be part of the Henwick budget as well, or is that separate?
That's separate. Hennick is under, it's managed on a day-to-day basis by West Berkshire Council. So they do all the accounts for the site and it's reconciled for our contribution at year end.
Probably need an update on that because I found it really confusing. Who owns it, who runs it, who's doing what, who's collecting, who's responsible? You know, because that's, you know, okay, all right, that's fantastic. And at one point, could you explain what EMR is and what the £17,000 unbudgeted spend was?
So EMR is earmark reserve. So just to clarify, earmark reserve,
I'm new to the acronyms.
we have a pot of money in reserve. And that's split down into various earmark reserves where it's put aside and ring fenced for a specific project. And then we have the working balance, which is the funds that can be used if they need to be. And so that one there, I did bring the print because I preempted a question on that one. And that is the 17,000. That was part of the accessible equipment that was installed earlier this year. That was the Jeep at Turnfields. So that was a project that was previously approved and it was part funded by us and part funded by district councillors' members bid at West Berkshire Council.
Okay. I will. So if we knew it was coming and we knew we were going to spend it, why were we not? Why don't we have a line that says, because it's got 0 next to it?
It will, that will be a year end. So all of these, anything under 299, are projects that are being funded from reserves. And that's all reconciled at year end. So there will be a balancing transaction for everything that's coming out of reserves.
No, I get that, but that is a known thing. Therefore, are we planning to spend £50,000 of earmarked reserves in this committee? Or will that will be something that pops up? Because I've got to account to my other councillors why we're spending earmarked reserves knowingly, and it's not in the budget. That's all. We're going to spend 50,000 this year at earmarked reserves, or that you know about, or
anything that was coming out of reserves that we knew about will have been agreed at budget setting. Anything that comes out now will be unexpected things, but the use of earmarked reserves is always approved by F&GP first.
but we have to recommend it from this committee.
It can, yes, or
It can, or it doesn't.
it can, or F&GP can just make that decision.
Okay, all right, okay. So is there any other known earmark reserves coming down the pipeline that will affect this committee's budget that you know at the moment?
Not that will affect the budget, no.
Okay.
Yeah, can I just ask about reserves? I mean, how are they looking? I know that obviously in the sort of current climate, I'm sort of struggling with reserves.
We keep there's a recommended minimum level of reserves that council should keep. And that's between 25% and 30% of your precept. So for us, we work on the lower end of that, the 25%, and it's 220,000. That is in its own reserve with a do not touch basically on it. So on top of that, that's for absolute emergencies such as the effects of COVID recently, although thankfully we didn't have to dip into it, but that's what it would be there for. On top of that, we do have, I think the pot is in around about the region of 85,000 that's available to be used if it needs to.
Well, the 22,000 that we have taken will come out of that 85 already. On the item that we're just discussing.
No, that's been budgeted.
It's been budgeted in another committee. Is that what you're saying? This section here, which is your earmark reserves, is coming out of whose pot? I'm quite happy for it to come out of another committee's pot. But at least we would know what.
It will be coming out of these earmark reserves.
I simply ask whose committees. If somebody has to agree, otherwise.
Well, they've already been agreed.
These have already been agreed.
Yeah.
And all right. Okay. Any other questions?
I do understand your confusion because I was thinking when you said that obviously the finance agreed it, I was sort of thinking, what's the point of this committee then if they can agree and they don't need us to recommend?
It's because it's use of reserves. This committee can approve expenditure within its allocated budget. Anything over and above that has to be approved by F&GP. Councillor Boyd is.
No, I was just going to say these figures that were agreed was by the previous administration.
I was leaning towards thinking they've already agreed it, but it never really put it in the pot. And yeah, okay, I sort of understand where it is. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you very much. There'll be no other questions. Any other questions on that one? Okay, then we move on to item number 6. Do members have any other questions on item 6? Okay, this is to note anyway Well, to note that one. And item number 7. Reports from working parties.
Chairman, this is 2 working parties that report to this committee. So each year we agree the terms of reference for the working parties and appoint members to serve. So they are the environmental, and I have details of proposed membership for that. So it's just to adopt the terms of reference and appoint those members. And it's the youth working party, but I don't have any proposed membership for that.
Okay, so would it be helpful if we note the youth working party, because we'll have to find some members volunteering for that one, and so we can note the report.
Would it be sensible for Ben and I to be on that one? Sorry, Ben.
Yeah, no, I totally
Oh,
agree.
Being representing that.
Yeah, because we're
Volunteering, love them.
that's the one, youth centre technically, isn't it, as well? We're on the youth centre. I know it's not the same thing, but it's within the same
But it would
remit.
connect.
It's the same kind of idea. So yeah, I think that
Well,
it would be prudent to do that, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So Chairman, we could appoint 2 councillors tonight and agree the terms of reference and then bring it back to the next meeting to fill those 3 vacancies.
Okay. Well, I propose Ben, and I need a second.
I'll second that.
So the 2 nominees,
Cool.
and shall we agree the terms of reference for the youth working party at the same time? It's not a problem. Welcome for this evening.
I was wondering why a detached youth service was in there and then crossed out. Was that something that used to happen, or?
Yep, we do have a detached youth service. But I think there may be a desire to look at wider than just the detached youth service that we have. So hence why it's been made a little bit more broad this time.
Can I suggest I'll propose, do I have to propose, or is that?
Yes.
Yeah,
please.
okay,
Yep.
so I'll propose we agree to terms and reference. I will need a seconder. Remember, seconder, thank you very much. All those in favour of a working party?
Because I wasn't here.
Absolutely, that's not a problem. Environmental working party again. Is there anything you need to add to that?
No, Chairman, not on that one.
Yeah, so we are going to propose the members listed below. I propose looking for a seconder. All those in favour of them. Thank you very much. That's proposed nominees, and should we vote on the terms of reference as well? I will propose. Seconded, all those members in favour of accepting terms of reference, agreed. Nicely done. Excellent. There'll be no other points raised from that. Moving to item number 8. Before we go into too much detail on this one, I'm going to suggest that with the clerk briefs us on the related items, and once we've had that brief, then I would propose that this item be referred to our next meeting. And it will come back to us. What is our next meeting?
It will be August.
Yeah, okay. So in about 7 or 8 weeks' time.
Yeah, that's good. Any idea of what date? Have holidays.
Oh, it's diaried in. It's on your list.
Okay.
It's on your list. So we're not changing anything. It'll just be
Great.
an added item for that. So would you be kind enough to?
Thank you, Chairman. So this sort of picks up on conversations we've had already this evening. These are items that were picked up in our routine inspections. They were picked up last year as medium risk and therefore budgeted in this financial year. Our financial regulations, I have delegated authority to approve expenditure up to £1,500. So the items in this report are those that are over that limit, which require committee approval. So these are items that have been highlighted as being necessary in our inspections. And so the report was brought here to seek approval so that we can get that work carried out.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just ask, is
Absolutely.
it all right to delay? I mean, these aren't urgent, presumably.
They aren't urgent today, but who knows tomorrow, with wear and tear, things can deteriorate quicker than you think, or they could still be in the same condition in 2 months' time as they are today.
Can I just, again, just to help us understand where we are, subject to if members were to approve this evening, when does the green light get sent to the appropriate people? And when would the maintenance work then start? Are you normally like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 week lead in? What's that sort of
The
timescale?
green light would be tomorrow.
Okay,
This time, depending on what it is, probably on average, I would say around about 3 to 4 weeks average lead time on repairs.
okay.
Chairman, may I ask what the items are?
It's on item 8 of your paper. That actually, some of it's painting, some of it's nuts and bolts, escape parts, some of it's.
May I ask what wet pour is?
Wet pour is the rubber matting
Oh,
that.
that looks like bark. No, or is it like tarmac?
It looks like black rubber, squishy,
Okay.
and that sits below pieces of play equipment to cushion a fall. You get a lot of wear and tear and sadly vandalism as well on wet pour.
Chairman, through you, we have done some maintenance work on the skate park previously, haven't we, the last financial year? This is, wasn't it? Is this actually going beyond that? I thought we did some painting.
Due to the age of the skate park, I mean, it's 15 years.
Yes,
old.
yeah.
It does need an ongoing programme of maintenance.
Okay, so basically I can see where the first item on there, the repainting of the rider surfaces, is obviously very, very important. We must have anti-slip surfaces. All I would say is that maybe the side panels might be delayed slightly. We were trying last council to get a programme of maintenance.
Absolutely.
So we didn't have ups and downs like this.
Yeah.
Which is it's £18,000, which is a significant amount of money. I just
In order to help the clerk,
Yeah.
fortunately, we have a budget and we have budgeted for routine maintenance, which this effectively is really sort of going to fall into. We should really be looking to this.
Okay.
With an eye that it prevents additional costs in the future.
Yes.
That's the real,
Sure.
over and above children's safety.
No. I mean, children's safety.
Absolutely.
Chairman, always comes absolutely
Yeah.
first, and that's why I said.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No ifs or buts about the first one, but maybe the panels, and they could be. But if we're within budget on the maintenance, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But as I said, what we'd like to look ahead in the future years is highlight these things and put them in a programmed maintenance thing rather than it just coming to committee. We have a list of things that might be there. I know it's difficult to do. And it's
No, that's not a problem. Absolutely.
Thank you, Chairman. That's what this is.
Oh, it is, okay.
This was highlighted during the budget setting last year for this financial year.
Great.
Of the maintenance that needs to be done this financial year. So that's.
And all of this is within our
and it's in budget.
That's great.
I think
Fine.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, and it's just for my own mind, I know you said these were picked up in 2022. How long are the quotes valid for? Are they valid for a year? I mean, what happens? Does it have to be requoted if the?
But they will need, particularly at the moment, because costs are changing almost on a weekly basis, so they will need to be refreshed. To be honest, our play area maintenance contractors are reasonably good. They will only pass on additional costs if they change significantly. They are quite good at honouring quotes. But these may, in 2 months' time, have to go up.
Okay,
Sorry, just to say, all of these look like pretty important things to me.
okay.
If the floor isn't repaired and.
Yes.
Child goes over on it.
I'm quite happy if members wish to agree it this evening. It was just suggested that because it should be part of the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve and upgrading what we currently do. It was suggested that it may be deferred for one meeting in order to see how this zips in with what will be the future capital programme and long-term vision.
I mean, is this capital or revenue?
Judging because it's coming out of reserves, is it earmarked reserves again? This one I can't remember, sorry.
It's in the revenue budget.
It's in the revenue. Yeah.
I get the having a look at the whole picture, but I was sort of thinking if it's already been decided.
Yep.
This is what's needed.
Okay,
You know,
it's not a problem. I'm just here to give suggestions and just give nudges. If I'll just simply go to a nice easy vote.
Yep.
It's completely up to.
As seen with the details of the project. Yeah. So I should propose the projected costs.
Okay, so you propose to spend the money identified in item 8.
Correct.
No problem. Do we have a seconder? We have a seconder. All those in favour, please show. Okay, thank you very much. And that's voted through. Thank you very much, members. That's absolutely perfect. Okay, moving on from item 8 and to receive the report from Environmental Working Party.
Thank you, Chairman. The Senior Environmental Working Party is one of the reports to the committee. So its minutes are presented to be formally adopted. Working parties are not decision-making groups. They make recommendations. And although there are no recommendations from their last meeting, the minutes do need to be adopted by this committee.
Okay, so any points any members would like to raise?
Just as I was there,
Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. Do I have a seconder? Okay, all those in favour? That's agreed. Thank you very much. We are trotting through this agenda this evening quite nicely. Approval of payments. The fun part.
Just to explain this process, these payments aren't all exclusive for this committee's expenditure, but this committee is a mechanism. All of our monthly payments have to be approved by committee before they are made. So whichever meeting it is, whether it's RNA, F&GP or Town Centre, they will be presented with proposed payment run for that month for us to seek the approval to pay them. So that's what this is, but happy to run through, and if there's questions on any of the payments.
Can I just clarify what you're saying is whatever committee's live that month, they agree.
Exactly right,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
regardless of what's on the list.
And this is payments. This isn't actually agreeing to pay. This has already been done.
So this is work that have been done or goods that have been purchased, and we are now seeking authority to pay the invoices.
Absolutely, yeah. Which is quite, what is our payment policy on 30 days, 28 days, end of month? 30 days, is that standard for West Berkshire as an area and local authorities? I would hope it would be, if not. Is that 30 days from receipt of invoice or is that 30 for receipt of invoice?
Chairman, I think it was proposed to do this to support local businesses
Absolutely.
and not to be like some commercial organisation,
Absolutely.
pay our bills on time and help their cash flow.
Absolutely.
We have the money there. So
I completely agree with you.
pay promptly. Being a
Absolutely.
small businessman, I would love it. Not only claiming interest.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, but I'd be interested to know, I suppose we ask around and see what people are doing, but I would certainly hope there'd be proper payment policy
Oh, yeah.
area, that's for sure. Was there any points members want to raise on this particular one? Doesn't seem to be overly large amounts of money. Just again, just to clarify, because this, whoever agrees it and whatever diary date they are for each committee, it goes to full council, who then get the shopping list of the agendas for whatever. So this will go to the. So who then sees it? If somebody's on it here, it only goes to full council, isn't on our recreation amenities.
It will.
If you see what I mean.
Yes, absolutely, I do. They will be in the budget reports that go to each committee, but once this is approved, this particular list won't then reappear before any other.
But it will reappear in the budget notes. We have spent X amount of 14%, 12%, 10% of our budget plan.
Yes, indeed.
Once it's paid tomorrow.
Or
Before
whenever.
it's paid, once it's entered on the system, yeah.
Thank you. The members of any other points to be raised on?
No, just say I've gone through these and it will look kosher.
Okay, I propose that we accept these. Need a seconder. And all those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Anyone, no one against, so we'll go on with that one. And moving swiftly on to item number 11.
So, Chairman, this will be the part where you invite representatives to give an update to committee. Obviously.
I'm just running through who's here.
You've seen my
That's me now.
apologies that Mark says Mark. We should say.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Yeah, I'm like that.
you've now swapped, or is that?
Yeah, I did that on purpose, yeah. I'm now the,
Okay, so I'll invite Ben to run it through any of these.
Thank you, Chairman. So on the 3rd of June, I went to the Friends of Thatcham Library. Very nice. My first meeting, definitely there, and we discussed the SLA in depth. We've still got some amendments to make, which are currently being reviewed. So that's just going on in private at the moment, and we'll come to the meeting once we've agreed that about the funding, about the objectives, etc., and the approval of how it's going to be spent. I was promoted the West Berkshire Library Lottery, which we something I can add on to my list of many little pockets of money and no doubt donating to causes. But the previous events were discussed, the coronation one that broke even in their garden. However, it was successful in terms of attendees, plus supplies such as cups and non-perishables can last until the next event, therefore reducing the further cost, which is fantastic. Then we looked at the use of the garden. It's next to the residents' home. The numbers of the people living there have dwindled. They've still got the management people living there, working there. And the fire exit door, if you go through the fire, and I didn't actually know that existed, the garden, so I was very pleasantly surprised. And I was shown it, and it opened up, and they want to have it cut and maintained, with a mindful that if the library ever moves, they don't want to do too many things that are permanent. So like bespoke furniture going around trees that would then need to be going around the exact same diameter of a tree in another place. They want to try and, cut the grass, maybe put a few benches, etc., like that. The garden will be taken over by the Friends, and they have a boundary for fencing, because the aim is that there's still conversations, private, confidential, happening in one of the closer building rooms by those that are still working there. And so there's going to be boundaries. We don't hear any conversations going on. And there are some hazards, weeding and gardening, etc. So there are some jobs that were spread out, which is fantastic. Getting up to scratch, fencing costs, which we'll have to go through. And then that then links into the SLA of how much we can spend and etc. Without approval, and how much we then would need approval for. There's a cost involved in that. And it's just, yeah, looking at forthcoming events. So we want to do an event on the 21st of June. Ideas got to be in by that time. And we're looking at doing some jigsaws and board games, which is now one of the key things at the library. And one idea was to do a big picture, which, without spoiling it, is a jigsaw piece, which I'm sourcing about flip chart size. And it'll be unknown to those that turn up, give them a jigsaw piece, they colour it in. And then at the very end on the Saturday after, we put it together and there's a big picture. That means that my colours might be different to your colours, but essentially the image is all the same. I've done it at a corporate event, works really well. And we'll do that for roughly about 3 days during the festival, launch it on the 7th and then show the reveal, I think, on the final day. And yeah, light refreshments, token price. And then more importantly, which is quite good, good thing I wasn't busting for one, was showing the pending toilet plans, which show where it'll be positioned. So taking out a section of the children's reading corner. So they've got one for the staff, but then they want one for the users, which is fantastic, disabled access, etc. And I've shown some plans. So it's going to be out to tender soon, and the project would be then completed within 3 to 4 weeks. And the library will only be closed during the demolition of the wall and any major structural work, but other than that, remain open. There we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything to add to your other Henwicks?
We haven't. We've met over email and said hello on Henwick and the youth, and I said, you know, look forward to any meetings that we have there, but nothing has been happened yet. There are some meetings planned, and I am tomorrow meeting the Lady Winchcombe of Thatcham. There's a couple of grants to go through, and so that'll be on the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. Any other reports?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Basically, the old Bluecoat School, which is a little chapel on the A4, which has been incredibly restored over the last 5 to 10 years, continues. The maintenance is going very, very well. They have a very good body of people doing excellent work there. They are at the moment putting together budget. Well, they put the budget together, collecting the money for new oak doors on the front of the building, which is about £10,000, but they've been working hard and they've raised most of the money already. So that's fantastic news. Other than that, I think that's just all going very, very well. It was a good meeting and we're making good progress.
Excellent. And
I have also not quite so much good news on Thatcham Parish Hall. We've had a few resignations from the Board of Trustees there. There have been some internal issues, which I won't go into here. And unfortunately, there was going to be an opening ceremony, but I believe that has now been postponed. That's the last I've seen. I'll double check and come back to the town clerk and confirm what we expect. We'll go ahead. It's usually a bit rudderless at the moment, but Simon Pike, Councillor Simon Pike and I met on last Monday morning to discuss how we can help them in the system recover and improve. So we're on it, but it's usually a bit rocky at the moment. May I ask a question for you, Chairman, about whether there is an up and coming Tenet leisure centre meeting? Well, maybe I should wait for your report.
No, it's not that. I haven't got a report, but I was going to just mention that they've obviously changed tenders for the provider, haven't they, to Everyone Active, which was announced last week.
Yes.
So Legacy Leisure, being the brand that you see, have since now changed to Everyone Active, which we went to one in Taunton. So I'd heard it in the grapevine, but it was officially announced by West Berkshire, Councillor Janine Lewis, with the I think the owner of the company, the CEO. That was a big announcement last week. So there's going to be a lot of change through. Is it the Willink? It's both swimming pools. So the whole thing's going to change. The ownership, basically, or the people that run the centres. It's massive. Big change.
It's the management, too, Chairman. It's the management committee that's changed. from one company to another. Staff, I would imagine, as normal, would be
paid over.
exactly just pass over. Why I ask is we had great difficulties getting a meeting for this. The officer in question time was not sufficient to organise one, has since retired. And I think I should suggest that we push our advantage and ask for a meeting through you, Chairman, that we get a Kennet Leisure meeting together, especially with all these changes. We make a large contribution to this. I think it's £40,000.
Yeah.
There is funding coming up, I believe, as long as it's still in the budget, of £250,000 to do a refurbishment by the council. So I think we need to, as a council, ask them what's happening when, and I'm sure that the head teacher there is very keen to get an input. So yes, do you, Chairman, ask?
Chairman, I can respond to that. It's probably about 4 months or so ago now, I chased up to see why there hadn't been any meetings, and the officer who, as you rightly say, has now retired, said that it will be a priority of the new person coming in. So I will chase up to see where it is on their priority list.
That would be great. Thank you, Chairman.
Just clarifying the £40,000 issue. We have we budgeted to spend that? Yeah.
Yes.
Have we sent them the money?
It's a year-end reconciliation each year.
Now, if you want a little bit of history, that was one of the Lib Dem projects, the pulls from the Newbury District Council. There was one pull in the whole of West Berkshire, and in cooperation with the town councils, with Hungerford as well, with the Thatcham Town Council. We put that pull in, and it's done very, very well. About 25, nearly 30 years old, but it's in need of refurbishment. My wife uses it regularly, and air conditioning rattles and toilets don't flush, and painting cubicles really are apparently looking quite tired. And would we, as a district, also involved with the town council, and the town council agreed to put money into it, as we did with the same thing happened with Hennick. We set up a joint management committee with the district, so we can have it. So we should have a say, and I think I'm glad to hear that that's going to divvy them up, because seriously, it was, of course, with COVID, it made it all that much more complicated. But let's say there wasn't a great enthusiasm for meetings. And
again, just so we could update ourselves a little bit more. Why are we paying people at the end of the year? We know what budget we're taking. Don't we do quarterly bill payments and stuff like that? Is it what's the history of that? Do you know?
With Kennet, it's a proportion, it's a percentage that's worked out at year end.
Okay, so they want to know. Okay, all right. It doesn't cause any particular problems for them being chopped up and sent a check at the end of the year.
yeah, well, we're talking about £170 million authority, so £40,000 is not going to bother them too much.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the principle. But that gives us a right to have the meetings and put our input in, as it does with the Hennick.
Absolutely. It's a get your point.
It's a point where we should not just request, but maybe demand a meeting.
I'm sure it can be brought to our attention at our next meeting that have they employed another person, that in the process of employing another person, etc., etc. We wouldn't know.
We shall find out.
And would you be kind enough to update members at the next meeting on that?
Absolutely.
That would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Any other from that item? Am I correct? Right, well, can I thank members for their attendance and their input this evening? It's been interesting and quick.
Great. Well done, Chairman.
And thank you everyone for coming in this evening. Thank you, Clark, for your work this evening as well. Thank you. Meeting closed.